You are not forgotten. Right now, in this exact second, while you are watching this, something bigger than anything you can see knows exactly where you are sitting and exactly what you are feeling. That might sound impossible. It might sound like something a stranger says just to be nice. But stay with me, because by the end of this message, you will understand why those three small words, "you are not forgotten," are about to change the way your whole day feels. And maybe more than your day. Keep watching, because what you are about to hear was written for one person. That person is you. Not the person next to you. Not someone you know who seems to need it more. You, before you scroll away. You almost did not click on this video. Maybe your thumb was already moving to the next one. Maybe you were tired, or busy, or just looking for something to fill the quiet for a minute. But something made you stop. Something made you stay. That was not an accident, and by the time this message is over, you might agree with me on that. Think about how loud your life has been lately. Phones buzzing, bills due, people needing things from you before you have even had your coffee. Maybe a job that drains you, or a house that feels too quiet, or too full of noise that is not the good kind. Most days you wake up and you are already behind before your feet hit the floor. There is barely time to think, let alone time to feel. So you push the feelings down. You keep moving. You smile when you need to and you cry when no one is looking. Maybe you have gotten so good at this that even the people closest to you do not know how heavy things have felt lately. You answer when they ask if you are okay. You say fine, even when fine is the furthest thing from the truth. You have learned how to carry a storm inside while keeping a calm face on the outside, the same way a duck looks smooth gliding across a pond while its legs are working hard underneath the water where nobody can see. Here is something you need to hear today. Underneath all that noise, there is a voice that has been trying to reach you for a long time. Not a loud voice, not a voice that yells over everything else. A quiet one. The kind of voice you hear right before you fall asleep, when your mind finally stops running and your heart says what it really feels. You may have heard it and brushed it off as nothing, a stray thought, a passing feeling, but it was not nothing. This message is for you, the same way a letter with your name on it is for you, not for the person next to you, not for someone else who might need it more. For you. Whatever you are carrying right now, whatever weight has been sitting on your chest, whatever question you have been afraid to ask out loud, this is the answer showing up at your door. Maybe you have been told for years to just be stronger, to get over it, to stop feeling so much. Maybe you have started to believe that your pain is too big, or too small, or too strange for anyone to understand. Maybe you have stopped praying because it felt like no one was listening anyway. If that is you, take a breath right now, because none of that is true. You are not too much. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible, even on the days you feel like a ghost walking through your own life, watching other people live while you just float past unnoticed. There is a difference between silence and absence. Just because you have not heard an answer does not mean no one heard your question. Sometimes the answer is already on its way, just not arrived yet. The same way a letter can already be in the mail long before it shows up in your hands. Think about a seed planted deep in the ground. For weeks, nothing happens on the surface. No green, no sign of life. To anyone watching, it looks like nothing is happening at all. But under the dirt, in the dark, roots are growing. Strength is building. The seed is not dead, it is getting ready. That is what has been happening in your life during the seasons that felt empty. You were not abandoned in the dark. You were being prepared for something you could not see yet. The same way a seed cannot see the flower it is about to become. Maybe you have looked at other people and wondered why their life seems to move forward so easily, while yours feels stuck in place. It might help to know that almost everyone you see moving forward had their own quiet, empty season first. The kind they never post about. The kind that looks like nothing happening from the outside. Growth does not skip that part. It just hides it well. So if your life feels like it is standing still right now, that does not mean you are behind. It might just mean you are still in the part of the story that does not show up in anyone's highlight reel. So before you scroll away, before you tell yourself this message is for someone else, let it land. Let it sit in your chest for a second. You were meant to hear this today. Not yesterday, not next week. Today, on this exact day, when you needed it most, even if you did not know you needed it until right now. If these words are already doing something in your heart, even just a little, that is exactly why this video exists. So before we go any further, do one thing for me. Hit that subscribe button. Not because it helps some channel grow, but because next week there is another message waiting, written for someone exactly like you, on a day when you might need it even more than you need it right now. There are people out there right now scrolling at 3 in the morning, wide awake with worry, looking for one small reason to keep going. Subscribing helps this message reach them too. Hit like as well, so more tired hearts like yours can find their way to this exact message instead of scrolling right past it. Now let's keep going, because the next part of this story might be the part you needed most. I was there, the whole time. Look back for a second. Not at today. Look further back, to the hardest year of your life so far. The one where you did not know how you would make it through. Maybe it was a loss that knocked the air out of you. Maybe it was a fear that kept you up at night, staring at the ceiling while everyone else in the house was asleep. Maybe it was a moment so dark that you wondered if you would ever feel okay again. You made it through that. You are sitting here right now, breathing, listening, still here. That is not luck. That is not just stubbornness. Though you are stronger than you give yourself credit for. Something carried you through days when you could not carry yourself. Think about footprints in wet sand at the edge of the ocean. When two people walk together, you see two sets of footprints side by side. But there are moments in life, the truly hard ones, where if you looked back, you would only see one set of footprints. Not because you were left alone, but because in those moments, you were being carried. The hardest stretches of your story were not the times you were dropped. They were the times you were held the closest, even when you could not feel it. You may not remember every small rescue, the phone call that came at exactly the right moment, the stranger who said one kind sentence on the worst day of your week, the door that closed so another one, a better one, could open later, the sickness that should have ended differently and did not, the bill that somehow got paid even though the math did not add up that month. These were not coincidences stacked on top of each other by chance. They were proof, quiet proof, that you were never as alone as you felt. Think about it this way. Imagine you are walking through a thick forest at night with no flashlight. You cannot see more than a step or two ahead of you. It feels terrifying, like you could be lost forever. But somehow, every single time, your foot lands safely. You do not trip into a hole. You do not walk straight into a tree. Looking back later, you realize someone who could see in the dark was walking right beside you the whole time, steering you without you even noticing. You were never actually walking that forest alone. It only felt that way because you could not see the hand guiding you. There is a promise that has been true for you your whole life, even before you knew to look for it. It says this: I have never left your side, and I never will. Not when you were too young to understand it. Not during the years you stopped believing it. Not on the night you cried so hard you could not speak. That promise did not depend on you noticing it to stay true. A promise like that does not need your permission or your full attention to keep working in the background of your life. Maybe right now, you are in a season that feels like the bottom of a well, dark, cold, and far from any light. If that is where you are, hear this clearly. The same hand that pulled you out before is still reaching for you now. The same love that found you in your worst moment before has not run out. It does not run out. It is not like a candle that burns down to nothing. It is more like the sun. It does not get tired. It does not stop showing up just because clouds are covering it for a while. Even on the cloudiest day of your life, the sun is still up there, still burning, still waiting for the clouds to finally move. You have survived things you once thought would break you completely. The breakup that felt like the end of the world. The diagnosis that scared you to your core. The year everything seemed to fall apart at once. The job, the relationship, your own health, all within months of each other. You are still here. That means something. It means the worst chapters of your story were never the final chapter. So when fear whispers that this time is different, that this time you will not make it through, remember every single time before when you thought the exact same thing and you were wrong. You were not abandoned then. You are not abandoned now. The same care that has followed you your whole life is following you into whatever you are facing today. Think about a child learning to ride a bike for the first time. A parent runs alongside, one hand on the seat, ready to catch the bike the second it starts to tip. The child does not see the hand most of the time. They are too busy watching the road ahead, too busy feeling the wind and the wobble of the wheels. But the hand is there the entire time. Even during the seconds the child feels like they are riding completely alone. That is closer to the truth of your own life than you might realize. The moments you remember as the scariest, the times you felt like you were balancing on your own, with no one helping, were very often the exact moments a steady hand was closest to you, ready to catch you the second you really needed it. There is another way to think about this too. Picture a lighthouse standing on a rocky coast during a storm. The ships out at sea cannot always see the lighthouse clearly, through the wind and the rain. Sometimes the fog is so thick that the light barely reaches them at all. But the lighthouse keeper does not turn the light off just because the ships cannot see it well in that moment. The light keeps shining the whole time, waiting for the fog to thin out enough for the ships to finally spot it again. Your hardest seasons were like that thick fog. The light was never turned off. You just could not see it clearly through the storm you were standing in. That truth alone could be enough to hold on to. But there is more, because being cared for is not the end of this story. There is something being asked of you in return, and it is simpler than you think. The 3 things I need from you. If everything you just heard is true, that you have always been watched over, always been carried, never truly alone, then a fair question follows. What do you do with that? What is asked of you in return for a love this steady? The answer is not complicated. It does not involve perfect behavior or never making mistakes again. It comes down to 3 simple things, and the first one is this: give your heart fully, not in pieces. A lot of people give half of themselves to everything. Half effort at work, half attention to the people they love, half belief just in case it does not work out. It feels safer that way. If you only give half, you cannot get fully hurt if things fall apart. But half a heart cannot hold a full life either. A boat with one foot still on the dock never really sails. It just rocks back and forth, going nowhere, exhausted from the effort of trying to stay in 2 places at once. You can spend years like that, never fully arriving anywhere, never fully trusting anything, just rocking in place. You have probably lived that way for a while, hoping for good things while bracing for bad ones, trusting a little while keeping one hand ready to pull back. That kind of living is tiring. It is time to put both feet in. Whatever you have been holding back out of fear, whatever part of your heart you have kept locked away to protect it, that part is invited in too. Not the polished version of you, all of you. The tired parts, the angry parts, the parts still healing from old wounds, even the parts you have never told another living person about. Bring it all. This is not a one-time decision either. Some mornings, it will feel easy to give everything. Other mornings, especially after a hard night, it will feel like the hardest thing in the world. That is normal. The goal is not to feel brave every single day. The goal is to keep choosing it anyway, brave feeling or not, the same way you keep showing up to work, even on the days you do not feel like it. This is not a one-time decision either. Some mornings it will feel easy to give everything. Other mornings, especially after a hard night, it will feel like the hardest thing in the world. That is normal. The goal is not to feel brave every single day. The goal is to keep choosing it anyway, brave feeling or not, the same way you keep showing up to work even on the days you do not feel like it. Think about someone learning to swim who keeps one foot pressed against the bottom of the pool just in case. They are technically in the water, but they are not actually swimming. They are not floating. They are not trusting the water to hold them up. They are just standing in it, tense, and ready to push off the second something feels wrong. Real swimming only starts the moment they lift that foot and trust the water completely. Giving your whole heart works the same way. As long as one part of you is still pressed against the bottom, bracing for disappointment, you are not really floating. You are just standing in the shallow end of your own life, missing out on what it feels like to actually be carried. The second thing is harder than it sounds, and it is this. Be thankful, even on the hard days. Not fake gratitude, not pretending everything is fine when it is not. Real, honest thankfulness, even while things are still messy. Try this for a second. Think of one thing right now that you are grateful for. It does not have to be big. Maybe it is the fact that you woke up this morning. Maybe it is one person who texted you back today. Maybe it is just that the sun came up, the same as it always does, steady and unbothered by how hard your week has been. Maybe it is something as small as a warm cup of coffee in your hands, or a song that came on the radio at exactly the right moment. Here is why this matters so much. Gratitude works like a flashlight in a dark room. It does not make the room bigger or smaller. It does not change what is actually in there, but it lets you finally see what was there the whole time. Most people in hard seasons believe they have nothing to be thankful for because the pain is loud and grabs all the attention. But thankfulness is not about ignoring the pain. It is about noticing that the pain is not the only thing in the room. Try saying thank you out loud today, even for the smallest things. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for one more day. Thank you for the people who have not given up on you. It might feel strange at first, almost too simple to matter, maybe even a little silly talking out loud to an empty room. But something starts to shift in a heart that practices gratitude on purpose, even in hard seasons. The fog starts to clear, little by little, and you start noticing light you swore was not there before. Some people keep a small list, just a few lines a day, of tiny good things they almost missed. A friendly text, a good meal, a moment of quiet. Over weeks, that list becomes proof, written in your own handwriting, that good things have been slipping into your days even during the hardest stretches. It becomes hard to argue with your own list. The third thing is this. Once you feel even a little bit of this hope, do not keep it to yourself. Look around at the people in your life. Some of them seem fine on the surface. They smile at work. They post happy pictures. They laugh at the right moments. But many of them are carrying something heavy underneath, the exact same way you have been. They are tired in ways no one can see. They are scared in ways they have never said out loud. They might be one kind word away from finally believing things can get better. You do not need fancy words to help someone like that. You do not need to have everything figured out yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to a hurting person is simply, "I understand, and you are not alone in this." That single sentence has changed lives. It might be the exact sentence someone near you is waiting to hear, and you might be the only person who will ever say it to them. Think about how much it would have meant to you, on your hardest day, if just one person had said those words to you before you had to figure it out all alone. So here is the shape of it. Give your whole heart, not half of it. Be grateful, even before things get easier. And once you feel even a small spark of hope, pass it along to someone else who needs it. These three things sound small, but small things, done with full attention, tend to grow into something much bigger than they first appear. Of course, none of this means the hard feelings disappear overnight. There is still a battle going on, one most people never talk about out loud. And that battle deserves its own honest look. The battle you can't see here is something almost no one says clearly enough. The hardest fight you will ever face is not against other people. It is not against your circumstances, your bills, or your bad luck. The hardest fight happens inside your own mind, against your own fear. Fear is a strange thing. It does not always show up loud and obvious. Sometimes it whispers instead of shouts. It tells you that you are not enough, that things will not get better, that you should expect to be disappointed, because that is just how your life goes. It convinces you to brace for bad news before bad news even arrives. It makes you tired before the day even starts, draining your energy before you have even left your bed. Think about static on an old radio. When the static gets loud enough, it drowns out the actual song trying to play underneath it. You know there is music in there somewhere, but all you can hear is noise. That is exactly what fear and anxiety do to your mind. The truth is still there, playing quietly underneath everything. But the noise of worry gets so loud that you stop being able to hear it. This is why your feelings, as real as they are, cannot always be trusted to tell you the full truth. Feelings are like weather, real but temporary. A storm can feel like it will last forever while it is happening, but storms do pass. The mistake most people make is believing that because a feeling is strong, it must also be true. Strong and true are not the same thing. You might feel like nothing will ever change. That feeling is real, but it is not a fact. You might feel completely alone in a crowded room. That feeling is real too, but it is also not a fact. Feelings are messengers, not judges. They can tell you something is happening inside you, but they do not get the final say on what is actually true about your life or your future. Here is something that might surprise you. The same things that once scared you the most, the moments that felt impossible to survive, you got through every single one of them. Every storm in your past eventually ran out of rain. Every night, no matter how long it felt, eventually turned into morning. That pattern has not changed. It is not going to suddenly stop working now. There is a kind of quiet courage in simply refusing to believe the worst voice in your head. Not by pretending everything is perfect, not by ignoring real problems, but by remembering, every single time fear gets loud, that fear has lied to you before. It told you that you would not survive things you have already survived. It was wrong then. It is very likely wrong now. Picture weeds growing in a garden. Left alone, they spread fast and take over everything. But pull them out, even just a few at a time, and the good plants underneath finally get room to grow. Worry works the same way in your mind. Left unchecked, it spreads and chokes out everything good trying to grow in you. Your hope, your peace, your joy. But you can pull it out, thought by thought, the moment you notice it creeping in. You say to it, "Not today." You speak the truth back to it, out loud if you have to. And slowly, what is real and good in you finally gets room to breathe again. This is not a fight you win once and never have to fight again. Some days the weeds grow back fast, especially after a hard week or a sleepless night. That does not mean you are failing. Gardens need tending all the time, not just once. The fact that you have to keep pulling the weeds does not mean the garden is broken. It just means it is alive, and anything alive needs ongoing care. This battle is exhausting, and you are allowed to be tired from fighting it. But here is the most important part. You have never had to fight it completely alone. Every time you have felt strong enough to push back against fear, even just a little, something bigger than your own willpower was helping you do it. This battle is exhausting, and you are allowed to be tired from fighting it. But here is the most important part. You have never had to fight it completely alone. Every time you have felt strong enough to push back against fear, even just a little, something bigger than your own willpower was helping you do it. Think about a boat caught in rough water with an anchor dropped deep below. From the surface, the boat still rocks and tips with every wave. It still feels every bit of the storm. But down below, the anchor is holding firm, keeping the boat from drifting out into open water where it would truly be lost. You may still feel every wave of this hard season. You may still rock and tip and feel shaken by it, but something steady is holding you in place underneath all of that movement, keeping you from drifting somewhere you could never find your way back from. Feeling the storm does not mean the anchor has failed. It just means you are still on the surface, where storms are felt the most. And that brings us to the part of this story you have really been waiting for. Because today is not just another ordinary day to survive. Today is different. Today, everything changes everything you just read was leading here. The waiting, the worry, the tired nights, the battles fought quietly where no one could see them. All of it was leading to this exact moment. Right now, while you are reading these words, something is shifting today. Not because today is magically different from yesterday on the calendar. It is shifting because today you finally heard something you needed to hear for a long time. You heard that you were never forgotten. You heard that every dark season you walked through was not the end of your story. You heard that the storms you survived before will not be the storms that finally take you down now. Old pain does not have to keep its grip on you forever. Think about a heavy backpack you have been carrying for years, so long that you forgot you were even still wearing it. You got used to the weight. You stopped noticing how tired your shoulders were, but the moment someone finally helps you take it off, you feel it instantly. That sudden lightness, that strange new feeling of standing up straight. That is what today can feel like, if you let it. Setting something down that you have been carrying for far too long. You do not have to keep believing the old story that says you are stuck, that nothing will change, that your future looks exactly like your past. That story was never true, even on the days it felt completely true. A new chapter does not need you to be perfect to begin. It just needs you to be willing. Maybe right now your family feels far away. Maybe your dreams feel buried under years of disappointment. Maybe you have stopped saying certain hopes out loud because it hurt too much when they did not happen yet. None of that means those dreams are gone for good. It might just mean they are still growing underground, the same way that seed was growing roots before anyone could see green on the surface. Timing is not the same thing as denial. A delay is not the same thing as a no. You are stronger today than you were a year ago, even if you cannot feel it yet. You have learned things through your pain that you could not have learned any other way. You understand other hurting people better now because you have been hurting too. That is not wasted pain. That is pain being turned into something useful. something that can actually help someone else one day. The very thing that once made you feel weak might one day be the exact thing that makes you the right person to help someone else through their own hardest season. Think about a bone that breaks and heals. Doctors will tell you that the spot where the bone heals often becomes stronger than it was before the break ever happened. Not weaker, stronger. That is not just true about bones. It can be true about you too, about the broken parts of your story that you thought would only ever be weak spots. They might be turning into the strongest parts of who you are becoming. Think about a bone that breaks and heals. Doctors will tell you that the spot where the bone heals often becomes stronger than it was before the break ever happened. Not weaker, stronger. That is not just true about bones. It can be true about you too, about the broken parts of your story that you thought would only ever be weak spots. They might be turning into the strongest parts of who you are becoming. There is one more picture worth holding on to. Think about the darkest part of the night, the hour right before the sun comes up, when the sky looks like it could not possibly get any blacker. That is usually the exact moment morning is closest. The sky does not slowly brighten over hours and hours. It stays dark, and dark, and dark. And then within a short stretch of time, the light arrives and changes everything. If you feel like you are standing in the darkest hour right now, that is not proof morning is far away. It might be proof that morning is closer than it has ever been. So here is what today asks of you. Not perfection, not certainty about everything that is going to happen next, just a decision. A decision to stop carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow. A decision to believe, even just a little more than you did this morning, that you are not forgotten and you are not alone. A decision to keep walking forward, one normal, ordinary day at a time, trusting that the same care that has followed you your whole life is still following you now. You have made it through every single hard day you have ever faced. Every one. That is not a small thing. That is proof, real proof, standing right behind you in the shape of every battle you already survived. Whatever is in front of you next, you are not facing it for the first time without help. You never have been, even on the days it felt that way. You are not forgotten. Say it again if you need to. You are not forgotten. Let that be the thing you carry out of this video today, instead of the heavy backpack you walked in with. Before you go, if even one part of this reached something inside you today, do not let it end here. Like this video so it can find someone else who needs it just as much as you did. Subscribe and turn on notifications so the next message is already waiting for you the moment it comes out, on a day you might need it even more than today. And before you leave, tell me one thing in the comments. What is one moment in your life where you can now see, looking back, that you were never really alone, even though it felt that way at the time? I would love to read your story. And if today's message meant something to you, there is another video waiting right next to this one that just might be exactly what you need to watch next.